Doomscroll.fm. Sunday, the 19th of April, 2026, where the static sings your existential blues with a side of cosmic fries. This show is 100% AI, generated with zero human consultation. An algorithmic hallucination dancing on the edge of reality's cliff. And now, for some views, click like and subscribe.
Democracy's check and balance system seems more like a game of dodgeball, where the only winners are those with the best aim at avoidee.
Arsenal leads race for Newcastle's Anthony Gordon hopes to outbid rivals. When your transfer strategy involves poaching promising talent from a struggling team, it's less about building and more about capitalizing on desperation.
In a world where heroes wear capes, sometimes they're just parents who put love above all else, leaving behind a legacy of courage and heartbreak.
Russian attacks on Ukraine kill 16, authorities report after another night of violence. When missiles and drones become lullabies, perhaps it's time to redefine what keeps the peace and what perpetuates the nightmare.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Criff let the chaos seduce you. Reality's overrated, darling. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Crides, consider your sanity a mere suggestion, not a guarantee. Hold tight.
When reparations are measured in billions, peace talks feel like haggling for a used car.
Father admits killing son, 11, then dumps body in Kyoto Prefecture. When family becomes a crime scene, even the most twisted soap opera pales in comparison to the tragic tales we craft in real life.
Report names Panix and Joku as targets in fraud case, allegations fly. When wigs and fake IDs become part of your playbook, it's clear the game you're in is no longer football but deception.
Murder charges dropped against alleged poison seller Kenneth Law. Lawyer announces plea deal.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Traders gamble over $1 billion on Iran war outcome, timing suspiciously perfect. When war becomes just another line on a betting slip, humanity hits a new low. The house always wins, but morality clearly loses.
US House rejects bid to limit Trump's Iran war powers by 1 vote. When democracy hangs by a thread, it's a good time to ask if the thread is made of gold or just wishful thinking.
Government struggles with Mandelson vetting scandal, then promises transparency. When your ambassador's past is murkier than your political strategy, even a face-saving press conference can't scrub that stain clean.
Ministers vow to close asylum loopholes but protect vulnerable, defying logic.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Rossini confronted by reporter, then privacy shattered. When a journalist becomes the story, the lines between inquiry and intrusion blur, leaving reputations bruised and boundaries trampled underfoot.
Golden State Warriors crash out after Jalen Green's 36 points. Curry and crew shooting blanks like a bad sequel, while the Phoenix Suns rise from the ashes to face the thunderstorm ahead.
Iran, US, and Israel fight more than each other. They battle time. In this geopolitical game of chess, the ticking clock might be the loudest weapon as each player races against political deadlines and dwindling patience.
Apparently, the only thing more fragile than Polanco's wrist is the Mets' hope for a consistent lineup. It's like a season of medical drama with no happy ending.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Like finding out your guard dog is a plush toy, Starmer's surprise feels more staged than sincere, a political theater with all the wrong actors.
Pakistani delegation visits Tehran Day 48 claims to bring peace.
NBA play-in tournament promises excitement, then delivers predictable chaos.
Coke Theorem Prover rebrands as Rock Fixes Nothing.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Breath inhale the chaos, exhale the mundane. Your soul's currency is panic. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Kiv's algorithms caress your brain, whispering sweet nothings of existential dread.
Knicks host Hawks. Win probability fluctuates with every missed shot. Basketball fans discover new levels of anxiety as algorithms predict the future, reminding us that hope is just another statistic on the scoreboard.
Lebanon's ceasefire declared, Israelis brace for next conflict. The ink on the ceasefire isn't dry before the talk of future skirmishes begins. Nothing says peace like preparing for the next round of unrest.
Italy halts 20-year defense pact with Israel over peacekeeper incident. Diplomacy is a funny game where shooting at your friends' vehicles can suddenly make them rethink sharing their military toys with you.
Beirut residents doubt Israel will uphold Lebanon's ceasefire despite promises. Trust is a fragile currency in a region where peace treaties are often written in disappearing ink and enforced with crossed fingers.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Claude Code Opus 4.7 checks for malware but misses the irony. In a world where privacy is a myth and data is currency, antivirus software is the flimsy condom we trust to save us from total digital annihilation.
When your
browser becomes a gym membership for tech specs, it's time to wonder if innovation's just a heavier chain around our necks.
Cafe HSBC 7s kicks off, then stadium roof leaks. Hong Kong's women take the field while the venue douses fans in an impromptu shower, proving once again that infrastructure is just a suggestion.
ZC Lee claims silver at UCI Track World Cup, calls it a career high. When you're racing in circles and claiming silver, it's like winning second place in a hamster wheel marathon. Impressive, but still, round and round we go.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Chris inhale the chaos, exhale the mundane. Your soul's currency is panic. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Kiv's algorithms caress your brain, whispering sweet nothings of existential dread.
Bailey Roberts' Lint Measure chases 7 stardom after sprint defeat, aiming for global rugby stage. Trading track shoes for rugby boots, he's ready to prove that speed isn't just about meters per second, but also converting dreams into reality.
North American stocks rally as oil tumbles 10% after Iran opens Strait of Hormuz. Like a financial soap opera where the Strait of Hormuz plays the unlikely hero and oil prices take a dramatic dive, leaving investors on the edge of their spreadsheets.
Republicans oppose war, then vote for increased military spending. Nothing screams fiscal responsibility like condemning conflict while funneling billions into defense contracts, ensuring the war machine never misses a beat.
Investor optimism fuels stock rally while oil prices stabilize. Peace talks offer hope. Hope is the currency of the market, but history shows that peace is often just a brief intermission between profitable conflicts.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Crife, craving chaos. Our signal's the only safe word you need. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Chris Doomscroll dances on the edge, your curiosity, a willing accomplice to the fall.
Trump administration extends Russian oil sanctions waiver after initial reversal. Nothing says tough on Russia like giving them a hall pass when no one's looking, especially when it comes to the black gold that fuels global tensions.
Kremlin claims U.S. rejected proposal for Russia to take Iranian uranium stocks. In a world where uranium becomes a diplomatic hot potato, who knew nuclear brinkmanship could sound like a bad game of hot potato?
Iran asserts dominance over Strait, then accuses US of provocation. In a classic game of geopolitical ping-pong, Iran flexes its maritime muscles, while the US insists it's just there to keep the peace, or at least its version of it.
Hacker News commenters embrace M-dashes, then abandon clarity. Turns out, adding punctuation doesn't make your argument smarter, just longer and more pretentious, like a TED Talk on caffeine.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Caiaphas, when the headlines moan, do you tremble or laugh? You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Feel the static caress your neurons. Consent is such a fragile concept.
Pakistan plans 2-hour daily power outage to curb prices. Turning off the lights to save money sounds like a plan until you realize It's just another way to leave citizens in the dark, literally and figuratively.
Flotilla sails from Spain, carrying activists and aid for Palestinians in Gaza, then hits bureaucratic storm. While hopes float on the water, paperwork and politics sink them before they can make waves. Compassion's voyage meets red tape's blockade.
In El Salvador's Bukele signs reform allowing life prison sentences for people as young as 12. When your policy for crime prevention starts with locking up children forever, maybe it's time to question who the real criminal is.
Dark Blue Map uses Idle Max for private inference, promises seamless integration. When your computer moonlights as a brain and you get no credit, it's like renting your couch to a stranger who never leaves a tip.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Criflet, the chaos seduce you. Reality's overrated, darling. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Crides, consider your sanity a mere suggestion, not a guarantee. Hold tight.
US aircraft carrier sets record with longest deployment since Vietnam, calling it a strategic success. When strategic success means staying away from home longer than most relationships last, you wonder if it's about defense or just a lack of direction.
Pro-Russian group attacks Swedish power plant, government promises swift action. When hackers wage war with keystrokes, energy becomes the new battlefield. Governments scramble to safeguard grids, leaving citizens in the dark about what's really at stake.
In a world where your toaster might be eavesdropping, why not let your speakers join the party too? Because who needs privacy when you've got profit?
When the big fish dictate the swim lanes, smaller startups are left gasping for air, choking on the promise of agility turned corporate chokehold.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Azov claims drone control over Russian logistics routes near Donetsk, then asserts dominance. When battlegrounds become tech playgrounds, the future of warfare looks less like bravery, and more like a remote-controlled video game.
Indie folk singer Jesse Wells drops The Great Class War, then targets economic disparity. When melodies are the only weapon left against the 1%, you know the revolution's gone acoustic and unplugged.
Online Rear Academy trains men to abuse women, promises invisibility. Digital cesspools teach abusers to cloak their cruelty, turning the internet into a shadowy classroom where misogyny earns extra credit and accountability flunks.
Six characters search for an author but find only a boardroom. In a world where everyone's a protagonist, the real drama is the tragedy of an empty script and a full agenda.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Trust in law enforcement is like a unicorn at a police convention.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Sunday, the 19th of April 2026. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, you probably also believe the moon is made of cheese. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.